Target has arrived.
Just made John a co-host so he can unmute and share his video, and we are recording.
Thanks. Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Hello there.
Janet, actually, I'm kind of counting on you to conduct the meeting, if that's okay.
If you take minutes, I have not read, Chaz said something out this morning that I did not have a chance to look at. As far as I know, our only business is finishing up that recommendations section, making sure that the executive summary reflects whatever the final wording of the
Yeah.
recommendations is. So
Well,
if I,
what Chaz sent out this morning pertains to the business that I think is, the
Right.
main reason that we're here, having to do
Right.
with the DPW language. And
Yeah,
maybe he could go through it for us first. Is that all right?
No, I was going to turn it over to you and to Chaz and maybe to John, who was more
Okay.
vocal
John,
about this particular
Jo-
section.
Could I just
John,
make a
how would
comment?
you like to proceed?
Let me just make a comment. Chaz, thanks very much for writing that, and also ensuring that we get some kind of metric, I think, to the select board in terms of the road. So where are we in fixing the roads? I think my sense when I read this is obviously it needs to be pared down, and I think that's an easy task. I think the question is, how do we position it in the report? My thought was that we had a discussion on the various for the projects that the town proposed to spend money. These are the ones that they recommended. Roads were raised, and this we can put some of this text in here, and just really refer to the fact that work is being done, and as Chaz said, it's a priority, but it's there are other priorities which haven't been funded. This has been, and I think that would reflect in terms of if any voter was complaining that the roads aren't getting fixed and why isn't the override fixing that, then this is a good response, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I'm just going to go back to the idea that maybe we need Chaz to, for the sake of people who don't have this memo in front of them, or Janet in this case who hasn't had time to look at it. Chaz, could you sum up what the memo says and
Sure.
why we are addressing this memo today?
Sure. So I sent a memo out early this morning, basically with language explaining why the DPW ask in the overrides doesn't include roadways. It gives a little bit about the history of what's been going on with roads and sidewalks since the 2023 override. The 2023 override, after that override, we phased in an additional $2.1 million in the CIP for roads. And then in addition to that, in March of 2025, the select board passed new policies about how to prioritize roads and sidewalks that allowed for more, short-term repair and maintenance. Not everything has to flow through the complete streets process. And in practice, that's going to mean more projects are undertaken. But this fiscal year, FY27, this upcoming fiscal year, will really be the first fiscal year that DPW can take full advantage of those policies. They were passed in March of last year when the budget process was already well underway. And so DPW did take the preliminary steps to try and address that. But this will be the first full year they have the benefit of those policies. So what they're saying is we're not disputing that the cost of paving roads has gone up, that even with the 2023 override number, dollars, the break-even point, the stabilization point for roads in Brookline used to be around $5 million a year. Now it's over $8 million. We know this is a priority. We are dedicating funds to it. But in this time of scarcity, we want to, we want to let the process with this new policy play out, and devote our limited, if there are to be additional resources to be had, devote them to things that aren't funded at all, as opposed to things that we know are funded and we have a policy in place to try and maximize our dollars for them.
Has that memo been linked to the agenda for today?
It hasn't. I'm sorry. I sent it. I sent it at like 6:50 this morning. I will. Charlie and I will make sure that that is posted in the meeting materials, so that becomes part of the public record.
It's in the
But,
packet.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry. Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you doing that.
Oh,
So,
great. Okay.
so
Hey, John Doggett, do you mind if I just ask a question about what Chaz just said?
Sure, go ahead.
So yeah, I did have a chance to take a look at the memo, and cards on the table. I'm one of those people that's been pushing for there to be more money spent on street and road repairs. And one of the questions that motivated that was, and I don't know if this has been provided yet. I know at one point we brought up the request that we take what we would spend, given an override, given the budget that's been presented to us, we take what we would spend on road repairs and repaving in FY27 and address the question of how much difference would that make, if any, in the backlog of roads that need repair and repaving, or would we be, not quite catching up with the continuing addition of new roads to the schedule for repaving and repair? There's kind of a known metric as to what percentage of our roads are in need of some kind of immediate treatment or not, near immediate treatment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we have a metric. Would we be gaining on that metric or not?
I think it's reasonable to assume that, every dollar does help. So yes, the $625,000 for that's a DPW request. If you were to put all that into roadways, then yes, that would make a difference. It would probably allow a couple of additional projects to move forward. But again, you're talking about diminishing, the potential for diminishing returns. We've talked about the bottleneck in terms of staffing and support on that front. And John Doggett, to your question, I'm asking the commissioner as part of this, the materials to the select board to talk about that bottleneck and, whether additional staff would be helpful there. But my gut instinct is that she's going to come back and say it's not necessarily about it's not about adding more staff. It's about keeping the staff we have, and the engineers and all the issues there. But I don't want to speak for her, so I'm going to let her do that work with the board. But so yes, if you put $625,000 into roadways, you would see more you would see a couple more projects done. But again, think about we're treating this in terms of what is the ultimate greatest return on investment, and what are you giving up by doing that? That would require, it really would require us to go back to town meeting and affirmatively say to town meeting, I'm sorry, but we can't do what you're asking for the tree protection. And you may trigger an appropriations fight there, right? So I worry that, we've got these things that we're in some cases mandated to do. And in the case of sustainability, it's the high priority, and the value of the proposition, I think, has been proven. So it's difficult to kind of, yes. So I'm sorry. Yes, the answer to your question is yes, we would do more roads, but the opportunity cost of things lost is not factored into that answer.
So let me ask this question. John, when he changed it the way he did, said it seemed to be the easiest thing to take one DPW project away and put another DPW project in. But there are other items, and the biggest target is probably the continuity of service, which I know affects many, many different things, but is there a potential there? And my problem is we're asking you to reprioritize. But maybe in our discussion, we say that, we put the chart back the way I had put it in, which is the ask. And then the discussion under about the recommendations, point to all of these things we've said, attaches your memo, and says, if the committee is agreed, I'm perfectly willing to say that the opportunity costs are greater than what's gained in that small amount of money being put toward roads. But we need to conclude all of this this morning, and we need to be able to have confidence in language and take a vote this morning and get something to Sadaf at the end of our meeting in about an hour and a half. So
Yeah. And Janet was referring to John D. John
Right.
Doggett.
Sorry.
Yes.
You
Can
know,
you use initials, please?
we are the committee of J's, more or
JD and
less.
JVS will be just
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
If I may, I want to just kind of add another thought here because I'm still struggling with this, and I admit I'm just a crank when it comes to the condition of our streets. I would remind people that I think the streets took an extraordinary battering within this past snow season. And probably need more repair than we thought we would need, a year ago. But the other thing that is perhaps most on my mind, if it's going to be an either or, if the situation is, well, we can't spend the money for some additional streets because we have to spend the money for tree protection and the sustainability division and horticulture. Then could we have some kind of comparison of what would we get from spending the money on streets, street repair and repaving versus, what does it mean to spend that money on tree protection? Are we actually going to net, can we point to a sure result that if we spend the money on tree protection, we will have saved X number of trees, in FY27, or we will have improved the number of canopy trees or future canopy trees in Brookline by X. And then where horticulture is concerned, I haven't really heard an explanation of what is embraced by horticulture. And I'm assuming it's sort of tending to the condition of the grass in the parks. But somebody, help me understand, how do we measure what we get from the trade-off between spending the money on streets, which I know the only way we're going to spend the money on streets is by doing some repairs of streets. But I don't know what we're going to get from spending the money on horticulture that we couldn't get by other means, say by, taking a project that was intended to restore and refresh the turf at a given playground, and instead of doing it this year, do it next year. I don't know what that spending on horticulture actually means and is measurable by.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think, on the horticultural side, it means that we lack in-house capacity to do something that we had historically done in-house. And so when we need these services, when we are trying to analyze, the projects that we're being asked to do, we have to bake horticultural services into the project budgets. We have to figure out how to handle those things on a one-time basis rather than an ongoing basis. It costs the town more money. Can I quantify that? Not off the top of my head, but I can ask the commissioner to kind of dig into that a little bit. And the benefit of having those services on call and on salary as opposed to, by the hour, there is an inherent appeal there. I think it's the same kind of inherent appeal that is made in Charlie Simmons's case of asking for an additional plumber. you don't have to keep going out to outside contractors to get plumbing services. So the horticulture is can be measured in that way. Tree protection and maintenance, it's tougher, because this is a citizen initiative. The folks who presented this presented a lot of evidence from other communities about the benefits in terms of trees saved, in terms of money put in and all of that, but it hasn't borne fruit here. We're a different community than Cambridge and Newton, and we haven't seen the same sort of benefits. And as town council identified, there are a couple of fundamental differences between our law and Cambridge and Newton's law that suggest we may see part or even all of it struck down. And I find it's a harder task to quantify what we get out of tree protection. But I include it because it is a mandate from town meeting. There's a lot of pressure on the commissioner to follow through on that mandate. When we tried to tell the advisory committee it's going to be really hard to do this, they didn't want to hear it. John Doggett, you were at those meetings. Folks were saying, if town meeting passed it, you better do it. We said, we will do our best.
I feel the same way about, streets in that, we've spent years quantifying the deficit in street repair and improvement, and I've never heard anyone say we should just neglect the streets. Instead of trying to, make some progress on this deficit. I hear people complain about the condition of the streets every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the difference with the tree canopy thing, as I understand the law, because they did change the bylaw, it's not what the town does on its own property. It's rules and enforcing rules on what people do on private property. And we all know that the problems that we have, no matter what rules we pass, is that unless you put an enforcer on every corner, that's where things fall down. My question is, this is an important discussion. It's not one we're going to resolve here today. Is it something that can better be resolved, John VS, by the select board? Because ultimately you prioritize.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good point,
the town
Janet.
does.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
So I would say, if John D, who I hope has been thinking about how to write this up, can put some words on the screen. Our most important thing to do today is conclude this and vote. So I would say we should attach Chaz's memo into the appendix. Refer to that in whatever language we put together within the next hour and vote it so that we can get a report to Sadov.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice. I don't want this meeting to, end without a result. And I'll say one last thing, and then I think you're right. John Doggett should put his proposal up on the screen. The last thing I wanted to say on this subject was, it's being presented to this, town subcommittee, and will be presented, I'm sure, to the full committee, as a result of, we have to choose one or the other. We had to choose whether to put the money into the sustainability division, horticulture, and tree enforcement, or the paving of the streets. But will that optional situation actually be clear in the override question that eventually gets put in front of voters? Will there be, within the override ballot, any kind of choice offered? You can spend the money on this, or you can spend the money on that. Which would you prefer to spend the money on? Because that's the choice that we are going to make for you if you don't approve this, override, or if you deny this override. And I just have a feeling we're out of sync with what voters would choose if it was up to them to have to choose, between those three things and the one thing, the street repair and repaving.
I think the voters won't.
Janet, can I? Sorry, I'd like to get a word in if I may. Let me just respond to that last point. if you recall, there was a survey done by this committee, or by Chaz, I should say, the town, way back at the beginning, where the majority of folks, when presented with a number of different sorts of projects, selected, I believe, road safety as being a high priority. In fact, I think it was number one. Sustainability was number five, a distant five. So, you know, in terms of what the people think out there, as best we know, and that wasn't a scientific survey, as best we know, it's certainly greater. I mean, Cliff raised the point that we talked to one or two people. Well, there were 738 people that filled that survey out. So that's quite a segment of opinion. It's not, to say, guarantee that that's what the town thinks at that point in time. So I just wanted to, but on the second point I have is, it's a question for Chaz, actually. What I'm looking for is, and I'm not sure I've got it. So I'm looking for a metric, two metrics, actually, 1 linear feet and 2 potholes, because they're a different animal and we have to count them differently. I don't see that in the language. The language is very sort of circumspect, if I may say so. And it says, with that said, it says the last sentence, the DPW is committed to presenting the data it has to support its position, presenting the data it has to support its position to the select board prior to any vote on override question. I'm not sure that's the same thing. So maybe you could confirm that we're going to get metrics that we can tell how far along the path we are and how far we got to go. On two linear feet, for me, is from the traveler road user's point of view, is a very important number, because it's just, as I walk along the street, or drive along it, I should say, then I know that I can see that it's done or it's not done. That's how I measure the quality of the streets, and I'm sure how most people do. So if we had a metric that shows that, I think we would be, and we update that every quarter or every year, whatever, and track it, then I think we wouldn't be in the position we're now in. But maybe Chaz, you could clarify.
Yeah, linear feet, it will be easier to get. Potholes is tougher because potholes are patched a number of different ways, right? Sometimes we get rid of potholes through, you know, as part of broader projects. Sometimes potholes are addressed organically by the process of, you know, Eversource or NetGrid opening up a street and then having to restore it. We don't track those numbers. And then there are patching jobs and patching contracts, and you know, we can dig into those, but it's, you know, potholes are filled in a number of different ways, and so it's going to be tough for us to track that, you know, to pull past data and figure that out. Linear feet, I mean, and certainly if you're talking about this on a prospective basis, then yes, I think we can commit to, you know, data analysis that includes linear feet and potholes, because we can make that concerted effort to track that going forward. But in terms of historical data, linear feet is going to be easier than potholes. So that's where they're, you know, I've relayed back your request to DPW, and that's the response I've gotten, which is right. Linear feet, easier to do, still a lift, and then potholes, you know, no two potholes are the same.
If you use Occam's razor's principle, do the simplest, i.e., linear feet for sure, because that's really a strong measure. And I think, I would imagine, since we order tarmac by the ton, that translates into so many linear feet. I mean, that I would imagine that each project is defined, and I got to believe that data is available. And I'm surprised that we don't see it, but there it is. That now we should get it, I hope. In terms of potholes, I understand there are different methods of filling. For example, if you repair like Chestnut Hill Avenue, you'll fill in a ton of potholes whilst you repair the street. I understand that. No, what I think of potholes, since you raised the issue that they are a different animal, and I agree, that a truck, I've seen those trucks, as sure you have, they go out, you call the number in, Brookline Online, and within 48 hours, I've done it myself, it works, thanks to our DPW. The pothole gets filled. I'm sure there's a record of that. The truck now, maybe it's not as clear as I would like it to be, but I would thought a simple pothole estimate is what we would want, i.e. the truck that goes out and is presumably tasked with, because they seem to go down the street on Clinton Road here and fill in, there's probably half a dozen of them. They do them all in one morning or whatever it is. I'm sure that the work order for that is somewhere in the files of the DPW. What exactly it says, I don't know, but I got to believe that we must have some idea, recorded idea of what our trucks are doing and how much tarmac was put down, etc. Because they're usually shoveling it off the back of the truck and stamping it, stamping it in. I think that, to be honest, though it's very good to have them filled, it of course creates a very uneven surface over time. And most people would like the road to be done, not the potholes to be filled. But I think given that we do spend quite a bit of time on that and money, I suspect, I think it'd be good to know where we are in the simplest of terms, not in the most comprehensive, all-encompassing data point, but just the number of times that truck that I see, and maybe there's more than one, go out. Maybe it's a daily basis. I don't know, but I would imagine capturing that data must be a lot easier than trying to look at all the pothole situations. And maybe over time we can get more. We can refine that number.
May I suggest,
Go ahead, Jan.
For the interest of time and our chore this morning, that maybe this is a discussion that needs to happen when the advisory committee reviews the CIP, which was the suggestion I sort of threw out there as maybe the place to talk about, because the road repair is not, it's a capital cost. And that's a place where the advisory committee can say, because they're reviewing every single project, well, if we take a little bit from here and a little bit from there, maybe we can do it. Or to insist in its report, which we can certainly as a recommendation put in ours, that the town has to place more priority on this, but we're not going to get those stats in time to complete this report. And so I agree with you, John. As I said, I tripped not on a roadway, on the sidewalk around the corner from my home, and have been nursing a sprained ankle all week because of it. It is an issue. But we
So I
can
think
solve it.
we're not going to resolve it to, at this meeting. I think we all have come to that, conclusion. And Chaz has said that there's going to be additional, data as to what's measurable, et cetera, by the time the select board takes this up. And I'm acutely conscious of the fact that we have a lot of staff people here, and I would love to liberate them to do address their workloads of the day. So John, is there something you can just offer right now as a proposed vote that reflects the work that you and Janet have done on this last remaining piece of the town subcommittee's work? And then we can take the vote, and then we can declare the meeting at an end?
I think that's going to be hard, because if it's up to me, I don't know. It depends which one is doing it. I'm happy to take all I'd like to do is to get an agreement. I don't think we can take a vote, John. I don't think it's practical. I don't want to sit and wordsmith this thing for the next. We've been here for days. I mean, hours anyway, not days perhaps. So what I would like to do is and I'm quite willing to do it, although my day is busy. I too have another life. That I would. Basically, I gave you an outline of what I thought. I just wanted to get the outline. In other words, I'm looking for an insert on I've got Chaz's memo up on my other screen. I don't have I probably could get the document. And let me get the document up because we need that.
While you're doing that, let me put it this.
You're muted yourself, John.
No, I'm not muted.
No,
the other John.
I muted myself. I'm sorry. No, let me put it this way. There's going to be a meeting of the full committee at 2:00 today. It's an extremely important. Today. Oh, it's at 5. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to misinform anybody. At 5 today. it's going to be a very important meeting, and I have been under the impression they're expecting something from us that will enable them to move to the vote on the report of the full committee. So is there something that we need to put in the form of a vote at this meeting right now that we can deliver, as a result to them? Or do we simply go to that meeting and say, we're not going to bring to you any further, material that we have voted on, but we're going to figure out at some point how, when this reaches the select board, we'll address the issues that are remaining that concern us.
What I suggest, I'm thinking, putting my parliamentarian hat on here a second. I believe we can continue the meeting without posting on the same day. I think maybe we need town council to opine, but I'm pretty sure there's a feature that we basically continue our meeting in the publicly posted meeting we start. In other words, I've had time to get you the text, you've had time to read it, and
So
then
are you talking like 4:30 today or something?
No, I'm talking at 5 o'clock because that's when the meeting is noticed. So at the beginning of the meeting, the agenda won't be right.
It's
If it's not on the agenda, yeah.
Chaz has
you
his
should
hand
be
up.
okay, John.
What's
Yeah.
that?
If you want to do it that way, John, you should actually be okay, because the text of the agenda is broad enough, because it talks about votes on subcommittee reports and any remaining information.
Oh, that would be great, because what I would say is, if we can do that, then we can have the first. I can get you the text. We might have had because you're not allowed to deliberate outside the meeting. So, but anyway, you've had an opportunity to look at changes and propose those, and we open the main meeting up with a subcommittee meeting, which we vote to continue
just the vote of the vote of the members of the subcommittee that are there present for the meeting of the full committee. Yeah.
Fair enough.
The concern, John, is Sadaf requested to both of us by text last night that she have something this afternoon.
Well, she's going to have to wait. I'm sorry.
But she has to put the whole thing together for Friday. Fine.
Yeah.
I will leave it to you to deal with the full committee.
I'm trying to get some time here to put something coherent together that makes sense and that you will be comfortable with. And I think that extending the meeting into right at the beginning of the 5 o'clock meeting and take that and take a vote on it, then we can vote it into that.
Yeah, I think that's doable. And Janet, I think your concern, which is a good one, can be satisfied if prior to the 5 o'clock meeting, John just gets to Sadaf the text of what we are going to ask permission to vote on at the top of the 5 o'clock meeting, so that she has it in advance. And I can't guarantee any result, but I think the chances that we're going to vote to approve this at the top of the 5 o'clock meeting are pretty good. And she'll have it in advance. And
there could be an amendment. I mean, we in the normal course of events that happens. So that's quite possible. If there's something there that is misstated or a problem or unclear, we can clean it up on the meeting floor.
I don't think we want to do anything that's going to complicate the ability of the full committee to take a vote that they want to take, at that meeting.
So John, I'm not wedded to my screen. Approximately when should I expect to see this? So that I know to look for it. I'm not one of those people who always gets.
I will work as fast as I can.
So this morning, I should look for it this afternoon.
I
don't want to pressure you. I need to know that I should.
Why don't we give John until 4:30? I mean, we're putting a lot of burden on him.
I would try and get to you as soon as I can, and 4:30 for sure. I've got tons of stuff to do today, so I need to get this off my desk. I will go to it pretty quickly here. I just wanted to get the rules of the road. I'm going to take, I think it's the current version that I have that I changed. I'm going to accept all the changes, which includes the old, it'll include the streets in that figure, and reinsert. And so the first thing I'll do is to reinsert the Chaz's original proposal, and then I'm going to put some text in around that point. I will weave some text in order to set this up, and probably it'll be 1 or 2 sentences. It will be very short. It won't be very long, because
That's good. That's good.
and I based it on Chaz's letter, and I will use almost certainly use AI to do it. Is just to condense it down to a sentence or 2, and then insert them with a preamble, a sentence. So, it's probably 3 or 4
John,
sentences, maybe at most.
John, did you see the paragraph that was in the original draft that I did, which talks about the streets, which votes the proposal and the amount with the original proposal, and says 5.31 million, we support that. And then under it, I had a paragraph about the roads that you can adapt, that we should attach the memo in the appendix. But bring up that language, if we can vote that language now, and then amend it on the floor, we can at least give Sadaf what she's looking for. And then the line in the executive summary needs to be changed as well, that refers to the roads instead of sustainability.
Let's try and get it done properly. So I'm just trying to find the right copy here. So you just give me a second or 2.
Sure. Actually, Charlie, I don't know if you could bring it up. It's what I sent to the committee for Tuesday's meeting, and went to the full committee
The
yesterday.
town recommendations document. Yep. I can.
Not the town recommendation, just the 2 versions that.
That's the
that
one
we-
I mean. The one that's labeled. It's labeled. I think it's labeled town recommendations.
I don't
Maybe
remember.
Janet, what's the date on that?
Yesterday went to the full committee. The day before, I think Monday
It's in the
night.
packet. It's in the packet as well.
I'm just trying to locate the packet. Hold on a second.
Here, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
What's the
Thank
meeting
you, Charlie.
date? It's the 12th.
Charlie's putting it up.
Yeah, but I want it on my screen. 12.
I'll be back on momentarily.
11th.
Okay, Charlie, can you go down to the paragraph after this? Here we go. It's on the screen.
What? What? Oh, it hasn't got a page number. Hold
No,
on.
it just came out of yesterday's. I think the whole thing was 2 or 3 pages.
It's page 2.
Which date is it attached to on the meeting? I'm just going to the meeting agenda.
It's on the agenda for today, March 12th. It's the
Okay.
first document linked
Oh shoot.
in the agenda.
Here it is. Okay. Today is the 12th, 11th, 12th. Okay. Expenditure study. Is the main committee meeting or our meeting?
The main committee meeting of yesterday, our meeting of Tuesday, our meeting of today, according to Charlie.
Use the meeting of the town subcommittee for March 12th. The one that
Okay.
is at 9 o'clock.
I've got override tiered. Yes.
It should be the first document in the list.
Don't see it. I've got draft tiered override options. That's not the right meeting.
Yes, that's the full committee.
It's
So
not
go
the
up
full
one.
committee.
Go up one meeting in the list.
John, if you're willing to, if you look at what Charlie put up on the screen.
Yeah,
if
well, I want to
it's
get it up. I
acceptable-
want to make sure I've got the right one here. I'm on
Yeah,
a different
that's-
screen than you are.
Yeah, I know, just let me finish. If we can vote on this, and I will take charge of getting this and the rest of the report to Sadaf, and then anything you want to amend, we can raise at the meeting later today. It will get Sadaf done. It will have a recorded vote. And, if you choose to amend this language later, that's fine, but at least there's something that we can be amending.
I've got JD Town draft. I'm trying to find the document that you're referring to, and I'm having difficulty. I'm just because I'm hurrying. Sorry. I've got my draft, which is on the agenda of the town subcommittee on the 12th. That's today.
So it's directly above that document. So if you're looking at the agenda for the 12th, there is
Town
JD town
recommendation.
draft report, and right above that it says town recommendations.
Got it. I've got it. Yep. That's good. Okay, let's have a look. Okay. All right. Well, let me take that as the basis of making the change,
Yeah,
and let me get it to you as fast as I can.
So
yeah,
you don't want to-
but
And I'll
Janet has a
send
good
it- I
point.
mean, if
Janet
you
has a
want-
good
If
point.
you want, I can
Let-
send it to Sadaf as a draft, so that she can do the physical work of incorporating it and just accept it when we vote it. Or if we vote amendments to it, she'll have those amendments.
So John, I will relieve you of say, if we vote this now, then I can say this is our complete report and I will make the adjustments. I will send it to Sadaf.
I can't process
Well,
it as we speak. I've got to read it. I've got to sit down and think about it.
Yeah,
I've got to think of my changes. It's not that critical. We can get it to her. We can get it wrapped up by this afternoon.
yeah, no, and John, I think we're talking about the same thing, but we're just talking about one additional step. If this is going to be the basis of what you draft, then all that Janet is asking for is let's vote and approve this as the basis of what you draft as an amendment. And then we can share this with Sadaf immediately. And I think that's a good idea.
Well, it can be shared as a draft if you want it right now. But I mean, I just, when I'm writing, I just can't, I've got to process it, and I can't process it. I've got
Right.
Jazz's letter to take. I got this. I got to merge the two and make sense out of it. I don't want to mess
Right.
it up. So,
And
you
you
know,
still have until 4:30 to do that and propose an amendment. But this is what you would be proposing an amendment to.
I just am very uncomfortable with that process. I think we got enough time to do it right.
John and I are the only voting members.
So she's got it. So she can do the physical work of putting it in, if that's what's worrying you.
Yeah. Janet, what did you just say?
I said, John and I are the only voting members, and at this point, I throw up my hands.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say you and John
something.
D. Yeah.
Yeah. We owe something.
Okay, so we're not going to reach.
We're not going to vote, and I will leave it to John D. to deal with it with the full committee.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it will be.
All right,
It will be. No. Janet, you've missed the point. I think we're proposing right at the beginning of the full committee that we approve this by the subcommittee, or the subcommittee members that are there, as John said, so that then this has a proper vote, and any amendments can be considered, and Sadat's had a preview of it. Almost certainly, hopefully, nothing changes, and it just gets a vote, gets accepted, and that's that. So we achieve what you want to do, and it's just a little bit. I think it's the proper way to do it, to be quite frank.
I would only ask for one last thing from staff. What is the proper language for moving on from this meeting without adjourning this meeting? And then could someone please send me the proper language for, reconvening or reopening the meeting at 5 o'clock within the meeting of the full committee, and then taking a vote, and then adjourning our subcommittee meeting? Somebody would have to send me that in the meantime, because
John, if you just hold on, I'm just pulling it up. It's in the town meeting. It's in the town meeting.
Chaz has his hand up in the meantime.
Chaz, go ahead. Chaz, go ahead.
Chaz, you're muted. Before he said he had to step out. He seems to be back, but I don't.
That was me. I didn't realize he had to leave the meeting. He's co-host now, and he can share his video.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah. Right. John, John Doggett is pulling up from parliamentary.
Yeah, I've got it in front of me. I'm just trying to find the right motion.
Yeah. As I understand it, the meeting is adjourned to a time certain. The meeting is adjourned to 5 p.m.
Dissolve, adjourn, final.
Adjourn
The
to
final adjournment without a date being set. No, that's adjourn is sign. No, that's something else. Adjourn
Lincoln,
to, adjourn to a
May I
fixed
suggest
time
some
is one.
language that I've used in the past in another town that I think is fine? That the meeting is adjourned to the meeting of the full meeting at 5 p.m. and that the subcommittee's meeting will adjourn when that meeting adjourns.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
sounds
okay.
good.
All right, all right. Then with that language as stated just now by Lincoln, I believe that we will at this point depart and come
Well,
back
shall
at
we
5
take a
o'clock.
vote on it?
Well, I don't. That's what I'm not clear
I
on.
do think you probably
But-
want to
motion.
take a
you
vote.
should take a vote. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
It's adjourned to a fixed time.
Yeah, I believe John and Janet are the only two who actually can vote, but maybe I can vote.
You can
since
vote
it's
on
a
this. This is
It's a
procedural.
parliamentary
Okay, I can vote
procedural
on
vote.
this. All right, John, how do you vote?
I vote aye. Yo, yes.
Yeah, Janet?
If I'm not the one, I severely protest the way this has gone down. So I will abstain. If, John, that means that you can vote to move this forward.
Okay, I respect your reasons, but I'm voting yes that we do as described by Lincoln, and we'll be seeing each other at 5 o'clock.
Are
Okay.
we adjourned?
Yeah, looking well, we are whatever the proper term is for
We're
continuing.
leaving.
We
the-
are adjourned, yes.